Okay, in the first video and the second, we created this model, and then we ventured to look at walls and other things like roofs. So let's go back to this model. If you don't have one, just create something simple like this with exterior walls, interior walls, doors, and some windows. Okay, so the 3D view here that we created was a basic model with the site, and we used the section box to kind of crop it. We also created in the first floor plan this section over here. It's just a basic section, and you can see that we did use a building pad to push the dirt, down a little bit. So there are a couple of things I'd like to start with. We don't have a ceiling in here, so that's one thing we could work on. Now, if we go to the ceiling plans, this is new material that we're working on this week, we can go to the first floor, which is the ceiling right there. So what we're looking at is, we're looking up instead of looking down on the floor. And at this point, we can see the roof there, and typically we wouldn't see that. So what you could do is click on it, right click, and pick here hide in view category. That's one way. And now you can see that we are only seeing a few things because this window is really big, and it's within that cut plane for the ceiling space. And so there are a lot of different ways that we can bring in the graphics. Like, I like to show where the door frames are. When we start to look at line weight and types, we'll come back to changing graphics in your drawing. Okay, so at this point we can go over to ceilings, and there are a couple different ways of placing a ceiling. You can do it automatically, or you can create a ceiling sketch. And now, guys, the sketch ceiling is just like creating a sketch for your floor or your roof. In the same idea, we are going to be able to sketch whatever we would like to see for our ceiling. So if you have any openings in the ceiling, or if you have different materials, we'll have a whole section on ceilings later on this semester. I just like to place a few ceilings in here so that when we create our camera view for this graphic presentation week, we'll have something. So let's use automatic. And when you use automatic, you can take a look when you click on it there that you are working with different ceilings in this drop down under properties. There's a 2x4, 2x2, and there's gypsum wallboard on metal stud. So it depends on what you're looking for. Let's keep it simple and use the 2x2. This would be the acoustic ceiling tile, ACT. And when you go into that space and you click, you'll have that type of ceiling. It kind of creates the boundary for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right in here because this is going to be my main workspace for the graphics. And like I said, we're going to come back to ceilings. The height is right there. The height offset from the level is 8 feet. So in case you have taller ceilings, you can always change that as you go from floor to floor. We're working with one floor to keep it basic in this class, and then later we'll add more floors and get into a little bit more details. All right, there's our ceiling. So when we go back to the section, if we double click on the section, we'll be able to see that ceiling. And because we raised our roof 12 feet, we could raise the ceiling. We could click on it and just change the height right here in properties. I'll just change that to 9 or whatever you'd like to do. We'll have a ceiling that'll help us with the graphics, and also adding lights to the ceiling. When you add lights to the model and you're trying to use ceiling lights, you need a ceiling to grab onto. So let's go back to the 3D view here. I'd like to talk a little bit more about adding materials. And I understand that this release of Revit had a couple of issues that we're working on, and realistic view didn't show as well and I'm hoping that we have that worked out. I'm going to go ahead and click on realistic. Now, when you place a roof like this, there's no material on it. So let's take a look at placing a material on your roof. And this also applies to so many other objects that you're working with. So when you click on your roof and you see that it is a basic roof generic, you have a choice of making the whole roof a material. And then later on, we can put a fascia board to close off the end of it. The end of it right here where the gutter would be. Or you could edit that type and add another layer, and that goes back to our discussion about walls. So totally your choice. For roofs, it can go either way, and because we're working with the walls with layers and we'll be working with the floors with layers, I'll just change the roof, the whole roof itself. So let's go ahead and pick on edit type. And then usually we want to then duplicate it so that we have our own roof based on whatever project it is or whatever material it is. So let's go ahead and pick duplicate. And what you're doing is you're creating your own roof name or type. So this might be asphalt shingles or whatever you would like to call it based on what type of material or what project that you're working on. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. And then under structure of edit right there, structure, you can click on edit. This is where we have a choice of changing or creating an insert so that we can change that layer, or what I'm going to do is change the whole structure of it, and then I'll come back and show you how to change the layers for the floor. So for this one, we're going to click on by category and click on that little icon with the 3 little dots. Because that asphalt shingle might not be in here the color that you'd like, we're going to go through the process that we would normally do to create a new material. Now we did this a little bit, but I think you have these choices of taking this one and duplicating it, and then starting with that one and changing whatever the color is, or you can create another material, which is what we're going to do. So go down to the gray ball there icon and pick create new material right there, and then we can right click on this default new material and pick rename. So at this point we're trying to figure out, what kind of or what color that we want. So maybe at this point when you right click and pick rename, you can give it a color like brown shingles or brown roof shingles. And then now that we have the name of it, we can go back down here to the bottom left and click on this icon with the white box and the blue there strips. In the appearance library over here on the left hand side, you can scroll down to roofing, and under roofing you'll have all these different colors to choose from. Remember that I changed my view over here at the top right in this asset browser to thumbnail view, and that's how I was able to get all these little boxes to pick up these shingles. Now if you know exactly what color it is, maybe it actually has like like this one, architectural grade brown. Some of them have specific color names to them: dark brown, cedar, medium brown, whatever you like to establish as the name and then connect the color to it. I sometimes use the job name, so it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this asphalt shingles architectural grade brown. And it doesn't look like anything's happened, but underneath this dialog box in here, the material browser, now you can see that it was applied to the appearance tab, which will be for your realistic view. So at this point, I can close out of my asset browser, and I've got my shingles there. You can see that it's based on a swatch of an image that we can customize as we look at materials. But for now, what we did here was we created a new material and we gave it a name, and then we went over to those folders and picked up here that image to apply it. So let's go ahead and pick apply. You can see that you have a lot of choices in how that roof looks if you'd like to dive into more of the rendering. Let's go ahead and pick OK, and then pick OK again, and we're still here, so we can go ahead and pick OK. And now in the realistic view here at the bottom left, you should be able to see that it is brown, and when it does print and or render, you can get that material. Also, let's change the thickness of this roof so that we can use the default fascia board. We'll click right on the roof again, and just once, because twice we go into the editing of the roof, just click on it once and pick edit type, and then pick edit, and underneath the thickness here, let's make it 10 inches. It would probably be a little less than that, but 10 is a good thickness for that roof. Let's go ahead and pick OK and apply and OK again. And now it's much thinner. We can go then in the architectural tab and click on roof and go to roof soffit. And then go to roof and roof fascia. And at this point, we've got the 1x12 by default. We can click on the top edge. When you click on the top edge, you see that it kind of covers it. You can always change that that thickness to get it even more defined. So at this point, I'm going to escape out of that, but you go ahead and put that fascia board on the whole roof. We may have to make the roof a little bit thinner because you can see that it's just showing still. Let me just get over here and click on this and orbit around to it. Yeah, it looks like the fascia board's not covering the roof. And also something else is here that I want to show you what happened. And this is showing up in the section too. So a couple of things we're going to fix. First thing, I'm going to click on this wall and pick attach top base at the top, and then click on the roof. You see how I have that little opening there? If you see those little openings there, those walls are not going all the way up to the bottom side of the roof. So I clicked on the wall and I clicked on attach top base as we did before, and then I clicked on the roof. And I think if based on the section, I think this side is doing the same thing. Just take a quick look. No? Okay. I'll go back to the section and take a look at that too. So I think we either have to change the fascia board or the roof. So let's go back and change the roof here because we haven't talked about profiles yet. So select the roof and then go over to edit type, and let's go to edit, and we'll make that a little bit smaller, like 8 inches. Guys, make sure that you put the inches in there, because if you just put 8, it's going to be 8 feet. Pick OK and OK, and now it's a little bit smaller there. Yeah, it looks good. All right, so we might want to change the material of the fascia board. We can click right on the material or the fascia board itself, pick edit, and then you can see the material was right there. We picked edit type. We clicked on the fascia board itself and we went to edit type, and now I'm going to go ahead and change the material here by category. I'll click on that little icon with 3 little dots, and really we just need something that's white, right, for the white board or whatever you'd like to use. So sometimes I'll just pick up something in here. I just happen to see this clad white, which is more of a flat paint, which works. If you don't have that, you can always go back and pick up one of the materials there, create your own material, because we're starting to see that that's something that we can do. I just saw that one. Let's go ahead and pick OK and apply, pick OK, and now it should be white, kind of giving us that white trim board that goes around your roof. All right, so we looked at here adding a ceiling, and we're starting to look at being able to put materials on here so that we can start to define here a good rendering that we can work with. I still didn't change this wall here, so you can do that if you'd like. We want to change our floor to material, because when you start creating a camera view and rendering, if your floor is still gray, it's going to make the inside very dark. So let's go over to the first floor, and now we need to be able to select our floor in order to change the material. And so sometimes it's hard to select it because you have the walls in the way, right? So there are a couple of different things we can do. If you just rest your pointer right there on that line that has the wall and the floor, and press and let go of your tab key until you're kind of like toggle between the two materials. I think with this floor we might have put it on the outside, so I may have to put, I had to put my pointer on the outside of the wall. We made the floor go all the way to the outside, and then press and let go of your tab key until you see that the floor is highlighted. You might see the little graphics there at the end of your pointer, but if you look at the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see that that's the floor. You can go ahead and select it. Now I'm going to escape out of here, because here's another way of selecting objects. Let's say you've got a really busy drawing and you just need that one category. I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and drag it across the whole thing, or maybe in a larger drawing I just do a little section. So I have everything selected, and now I'll go up to this filter icon. It looks like a little tunnel. No, funnel, a little funnel. I'm going to go ahead and click on filter, and then this is where you can filter out the object that you want selected. So I'll pick check none, and I'll just put a check mark in floors, and then I'll pick OK. And now the floor is selected. If you go over to edit type, what we want to do is get into the habit of duplicating so that you always have this generic one that's there to be able to use. So let's go ahead and pick duplicate, and again, maybe this is going to be all wood floors. So one choice is to duplicate it and call it wood floors, and pick OK. And now under structure, we're going to click on edit, but this time, unlike the roof, we're going to insert another layer. So I'm going to go ahead and pick insert, and then I'm going to pick up, the up button, to bring it up to the top. And so it brought that new layer up to the top. For the function, we want to change it because it's going to be the finish. So under function, we're going to change it from structure to finish. And then before we change the material, let's talk about the thickness, right? Because the structure is probably a piece of plywood, or no, the structure is the floor joist. Possibly it's going to be 9 1/4 inch. So let's type in 9.25 inches. 9.25 inches, and then over here for the thickness of the plywood we'll type in 0.75 inches. I could have typed in 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch also. So now we have our 10-inch floor with the floor joist and the finish. So for the finish, let's go under the material by category and click on the three little dots there, that little icon. Now let's take a look at what we have loaded in this drawing. The first thing we want to do is to see what came in here by default. Maybe there is some kind of, I know there's plywood sheathing, there's lumber, there's wood stain. I think we want to create our own now again, as I don't see anything that kind of works for us as we're looking at the different, well, there's oak flooring. I mean, we could use that. That's the choice. Or you can go through the options of creating your own. So I'm going to go ahead and use oak flooring. You know how to go create your own. I'll keep the video size down. So let's go ahead and click on oak flooring and then pick OK. And there it is. We have oak flooring, and the structure, it doesn't, in this case, doesn't really matter because it's going to be covered. Let's go ahead and pick OK and pick OK. Now we did look at using split face to split the face of a wall. That's the same thing here with the floor. It's up here and it's here split. It's up here and it's called split face right there. So you can split the face of that floor so that you can create different materials within the rooms. That's one choice. And down here then you have paint so that you can paint it. We did this when we were looking at the walls, but it's the same thing applied to the floors. Okay. So we have our material, and you can see by the graphics over here that we do have that thin piece of flooring. All right, so let's start to put other graphics here. Let's double click inside the section, and what we want to do is to bring in possibly some paintings or some kind of graphic on the wall that that is an image, and they're called decals. You can only see the decals when you're in the realistic view. And I do notice this wall right here. Let's see if I click on it and pick attach top base and click on the roof, we can edit it right here to bring that wall, you know, up to here, this roof. Okay, and you know, we would also have some ceiling joists here above this ceiling, so it's not open like this, unless we used rafters and have this kind of cathedral ceiling, which completely changes then the way that our ceiling will be established, because it could be another layer at the bottom of the roof, right? When you think about how to work with. So the topic I'd like to get to is about decals. So maybe you want to bring in a painting of something that's important to you. Go to the website, go to here, grab whatever image it is, and you know, do a search for, I don't know, cats or cars or or paintings, whatever it is, and find here under images something that you want to put on the wall. So maybe, and these are paintings that are being sold, but you can, you know, find whatever graphics that you'd like. I'm going to just go ahead and click on one of these, and when you look at the pixels, the higher the number, the better quality. And some companies are not going to let you, you know, save it. But if you put your pointer on it, right click and pick Save Image As, you see that it's a JPEG, because there are so many different links of images that some companies won't let you, you know, take. So this is going to be my wall painting I'll just call it that. And I want to save it in the folder that I want to, grab it from. There's my wall painting. I'll go back to Revit, and the first thing we'll need to do is to go over to Insert and look for Decal. Now, under Decal, there's a place decal and decal types. Well, so the first thing we need to do is to kind of load all of these images in here. We only have one, but you can put way more than one if you'd like. Before we place it, let's pick decal types. Now, there are no decals here, so at the bottom left, we can click on Create a New Decal. And then this is going to be my wall painting. And it honestly, it could be whatever that is. Maybe that's specific to that name of that wall painting because you have several different wall paintings. And so now we have a decal, and then we're going to attach an image to it. Underneath Source over here at the top right, we're going to click on this little icon with 3 little dots, and we're going to find that wall painting, double click on it, there it is. And there are all these different things that you can change about it. So we're in this dialog box where you could now go to create a new decal. When you create a new decal, you give it a name, you attach an image to it, and now you're kind of building any kind of images that you want in your drawing. Even a TV screen, this is one way to place a TV image on the front of the TV screen. Different ways of bringing in those graphics. Let's go ahead and pick OK. And now that we have it, we probably should then change to realistic view here in the section, because then we'll be able to see it. We can go up to decal and place a decal, and if you then click a point and pull your mouse over and click another point here, it looks like it's locking in a ratio right here. It's locking in a height and a width, but I'm going to go ahead and place it. Use your escape key to get out of that. And then if you click right on the decal, once you place it, you can use these little grips to change it. Do that. I'm going to get rid of this one. So click on the decal, and either it locks in the width and the height, but you can change here the width and the height in order to create a larger image there. I don't know why I picked that one. Not my favorite one, but you're learning from this, so you can go ahead and pick whichever one you want when we're talking about decals. Okay, let's go back to the first floor plan and put some more windows in your camera view. We did create a camera view here under 3D views, and what we probably should do is rename that. So here it was called 3D View 1 under 3D Views. We can right click and rename it Interior Perspective. And then in the first floor plan here, I'm going to double click and get to that. I'd like to put more in here, right? And some of you might not have these, so I'll try to post them. Under Insert and Load Family, we have all these different folders, and if you don't have these folders, let me just say again that Autodesk has suggested that we pick Load Autodesk Family. Now, some of you get all of these folders and others only get a couple. So just make sure your category is under any, and then you have all of these, and you can highlight Entourage and then be able to load those. You could even pick up other ones that I'm going to post or that are online. So I already have these loaded. I'm going to go ahead and pick Load Family, and then underneath Entourage, I might have already loaded them into here. We have a male and a female here, and a car and some other things. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my control key down and pick up here the male and the female. These are RPCs, which are rich photorealistic content. So let's go ahead and load those. And now that they're loaded, we can go back to the architecture tab and go to component and place a component in the first plan for floor plan. We have here the females and the males, and they're hard to tell, you know, exactly what they look like. So when you have, for instance, like Kathy selected here, you want to pick edit type so that you can go into this rendering appearance here and pick Kathy right there. And now I'm seeing how Kathy looks. If that's the one I like, then I can use that. If I wanted to check something else out here, maybe I want to go down to Alex right here under the males. I'm going to pick edit type, and I'm going to click on Alex, and then it starts to show you a couple other things. You know, this is what Lisa looks like, and Tina, and I think one of the women, I think it might be Cynthia, is sitting, so you want to check that out because she might be sitting on one of the chairs there. So let's just pick Alex, and I'll go ahead and pick OK, and there he is. Now the the point is the way that he's facing. So if before you place him you press the space bar, it'll rotate around. But even after you place him here, you can escape out of that or pick the modify button there, select that person right there, and then use the rotate right up here in the modify panel. I can click a point somewhere straight up or anywhere to start where the rotation begins, and then see how as I pull my mouse across, it's rotating. So if you want to kind of face him towards the camera, we could do that. All right, so put a few people in here, and then also we could go to, if you can get to those families, that'd be great. Like I said, I'll put some of those in the canvas folder. Let's go to insert and load family. There's another one here under English Imperial called planting. Now under planting you have all of these trees. One thing that I'd like to see them add is some interior plants. I'll try to put some of those in Canvas because there aren't very many here as already loaded. But I do like to sometimes use these smaller shrubs because they do kind of look like big plants that are in your commercial projects or this residential. So I'll go ahead and click on RCP shrub, and then as you go to the architecture tab and go under component, place a component, you know, you have these shrubs that are smaller. Some are like this one is 1'10", which is kind of small. You want to make sure that it's small enough for the space. And some of them, you know, look better than others. Let's see, I'm getting an error. They're saying that it's not visible on the first floor. So it does work sometimes, and let's take a look why. And it's probably because the planting is turned off. So let's take a look and see if I can see it in my interior perspective. There it is. In the interior perspective, you can see it. In the first floor plan, if I type in VG and scroll down, I can see here if those plants are on, and it's not on. So you'll get kind of a dialog box that says that they're not visible, just to kind of like warn you or tell you about it. So I typed in VG, and I'm going to put a check mark in planting and pick OK. And now I can kind of see where that shrub is. And now if I double click in interior space, interior view, there it is. So whether you want to put it on a table or make it a little bit bigger, you can always swap it out by just clicking on it in the perspective view and maybe trying something else. You know, that one's a little bit bigger. I don't know how much bigger I want to get in that corner, but you can decide on, you know, which one you want to use for your project. So before we start to render this view, go back to the first floor plan and put some more windows in here so that we can create a background here view. These trees would probably not be in the first floor plan, so I'm going to click on it and then right click, and we don't want to say hide category. We just want to say hide elements, because maybe other ones will go away. So I'll click on this one, pick hide elements. Now where do those elements go? This is the hard part. When you select an object and right click and pick hide in category, we already know we can type in VG to get it back. But when you right click and pick element, it actually goes down here underneath this light bulb icon that's next to the glasses. It says reveal hidden elements. So you can click on there, and there they are. In case you wanted to get back those elements that you hid, hide elements, you could click on it, right click, and pick unhide elements. Okay, just to let you know that they're not underneath VG anymore. They're underneath this light bulb down here that's next to the glasses. It says reveal hidden elements. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that again, and it kind of takes them away. See how each one of these, I want to go ahead and hide elements. Okay, so that's if you have individual things that you want to hide. We're creating a space over here, so we want to for our rendering, and we want to be able to have some windows and some people. I think it would be a good idea, especially if you can find those families, and I'll try to post them in the canvas, like I said, to put some lights. Let's go to the insert tab and go to load family. We need to go back up to the English and Imperial here. So under English and Imperial, we'll look for lighting. Let's double click on lighting, and then we'll go to architectural. If we went to MEP, we would still get the lighting, but the lighting would then be attached to a system, a switch, and wiring. And so it's a little bit deeper dive on electrical. Let's go ahead and double click on architectural, and then external or internal, or an interior internal. And so these are all the different light fixtures that we can get. We can get some down lights and recessed lights. So maybe we need some recessed lights, or this pendant light lamp is something that hangs. The pendant lamp is like a rod or something that hangs from the ceiling. It kind of comes down, and then the light is below the ceiling. We have some floor lamps, so I think if you hold your control key down, you can pick up some of these. The ones that we should really look at, since we have our 2x2 ceiling grid, is probably going to be this Troffer light, which is 2x2. So you can highlight that, hold your control key down. Hold your control key down. Sconce lights are going to be lights that are on the wall, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hold my control key down and pick up some of these wall sconces. You can put whatever light you want in here. There's even a table lamp here. Let's get a floor lamp, and maybe some of these down lights, the recessed ones. They've added for us here the under the cabinet lights also. We haven't gotten that far yet, so I've got some down lights, recessed cans right there. I've got a floor lamp and a sconce light and a Troffer light there. Okay, let's go ahead and pick open, and those are the ones that I'll try to put in the canvas for you. If you don't have those, you can load them, download them, save them to your folders, and then go insert them. All right, so now some of those we can put right here in the floor plan, but others need to go in the ceiling plan. So we go back to architecture and component and place a component. The Troffer lights are really for the ceiling. So we want to be able to find in here those other types of lights, like the floor lamp, and you can decide on the voltage there. Here's a floor lamp. Maybe I want to put a floor lamp over here next to the couches, because we'll be able to see those, or they're called sofas probably. And then we have the down light, recessed lights are going to end up in the ceiling plan. But I thought we brought in here table lamp, maybe not. You can put a table in there and put a lamp on it, but when you do, look at the properties and make sure that it's not on the floor. What about those wall sconces? I thought I got some of those here. There it is, right there. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of these right here to the wall, and maybe that'll give a little bit more light. So it's your design. Go ahead and work with it. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pick modify to cancel out and go to the ceiling plan first floor. In the ceiling plan first floor, we can go to component, place the component, and now we're actually looking for those dropper lights and 2x2 right here. At this point, we're ready to put them right in this grid, and the closer you get, the more accurate it will snap to here, the grid itself. And I know I'm not really designing for the light system, but maybe I like to get a little bit of light in there, and you can always turn them on and off as you start to work with them. We did get some recessed lights too. I'm going to have so many lights in here though. Maybe I'll just put one so that you can kind of see it. And sometimes these lights, because someone else created them, get a little bit hard to see, or we have to go into the setting and tweak it a little bit. So I'll just put one right over here that might go underneath the plant. All right. Okay, so now we can go back over to the interior perspective and just take a quick look at it. We have some lights over there. There's the floor lamp there. They're not on right now because I haven't rendered it, so it's not going to show until we render it. I do have it right on top of this graphics, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that over and maybe slide the light over a little bit. It's kind of nice in these newer releases that we can work right in this interior view. We can even click on the outline of it and start to crop it a little bit as we look at working with it. I think I want to make that a little bit smaller, maybe. All right, so I mean, you can spend the time too, to take a look at it. All right. So as we're in this interior perspective, let's take a look at some of the things that we can do to the graphics before we start to render. We can go down to where we got realistic right there in the visual styles and pick graphic display options. Now, graphic display options gives you a lot of options before we render, right? So if you open up some of these displays, we have shadows, so we can cast shadows here, and if I pick apply, you'll be able to see it come into the drawing. It depends on the lighting and everything else, but we'll get to that. We can show ambient shadows. Ambient shadows are like soft shadows in corners, so it kind of like it softens the edges a little bit more, and it's very nice to work with. If we wanted it to be like a sketch instead of a drawing with specific straight lines, we can enable sketchy lines and add like the jitter of it, like how graphic do we want it to look. And then the extensions are kind of like where the lines meet. Do you want them to be extended? So if I really get in there and extend them, it starts to really see how it looks like they're overlapping, and if this was a plan, it would be a little too much, I think, but it's up to you if you want to, you know, use that sketchy view. We do have lighting here that we want to add, and right now we have exterior sun only. So if we change this to exterior sun and artificial, this is going to be applied to bring in and soften that a little bit more. Let me see if I can get into the interior. This is definitely going to change as we render this space. You can just see the slight differences here, but in this kind of slide bar for the sun, we can really notch up here some of the sun that's coming in, or the ambient light that's in that that space. It's just a slight difference, but here's the shadows. It kind of makes it too dark, so I can make it a little bit lighter here. Yeah, lighten it up a little bit. And I think with the exterior views, you'll have a lot more graphics that will show for the sun, especially here, because let's see if I take it all the way down. Yeah, it's just a small kind of glow that's added to the space. So maybe look at some of those features. Here are your artificial lights. So when you render it, you'll have kind of the dimming of it for certain ones, like the lights that you can dim. All right, we have a background here, so let's go over to background. Right now, we don't have a background that you'll see when you look through the windows. What we can do is we can add a sky, and it's going to be, you know, that color that you pick. So if you wanted to add you know, a different color to that sky, you can come in here and change the color. I kind of like the gradient sometimes, because when you pick gradient, you pick apply, you see you have kind of this darker color for the ground, and then it gets lighter as you go up. So if I was to orbit in this space, it would change, because there's the ground color, the horizon color, and the sky color. So I do change that around a lot as I'm working with it, especially when I'm working on the exterior view. But the thing that I like is that you can bring in an image. So if you have an image, let's go get one. We can go online here and do a search for a forest, or whatever you'd like to see, a cityscape or something outside that'll show through the windows. So I'll pick something like this one, possibly. And it does make a difference in the pixels and what the image is. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click and save this image as, and in here I'm going to save it as background forest, and I'm saving it in that same folder here. And now I can go back to Revit and change the background to image, and pick customized image, and pick image right there. Navigate over to your folder that you put it in, and then there it is there. And you can change it, you can stretch it, you can work with it a little bit. Most of the time the default works really well. I'll go ahead and pick OK and pick apply, and now you see you get like that background image that kind of shows that you've got, you know, trees in your backyard. Kind of nice when we're working with this. All right, let's go ahead and pick OK. You can see that there are a lot of other things you can do here, but that would be graphic display options. We can also render this view. So down at the bottom, you'll see this little teacup icon. It says show rendering dialog box. Here it is here. You can set your quality to medium, let's say, depending on your laptop and how much graphics you have in here. It should go pretty quickly. So we'll use the screen settings, and this one we want to have, let's try different ones. We'll have interior, sun, and artificial. And I think sometimes it's a good idea to just render it and then take a look. But honestly, let's take a look at lighting sun settings right here. If this was an exterior view, we would have a little bit more outdoor space that we can work with. Let's go ahead and pick sun settings, this little this icon with the 3 little dots. Now this would be if you want to make all the light come from the top right or the top left, right? So you have this choice of having the light come from a specific direction. Or you can pick on still under solar study. And you have the winter and summer solstice and other presets. But this is where you can decide on exactly where the location is. By default, it's Boston. So you can click on this for the location, this little icon here with the 3 dots. And you can type in wherever you want, right? So I'm going to type in where the college is, Warren, Michigan. So when it searches for Warren, Michigan, and I pick search, it's asking me if I meant one of these. So I'm just going to click on the first one, and there it goes. It goes right to that city, but you could pick it up. You could give it an address, or you could pick up this little red marker and put it, wherever you'd like to put it here. Actually, I just moved to St. Clair, so I know there's all kinds of different places here, but I'm going to pick it up and put it over here in St. Clair. That's where I moved to. I actually moved from Oxford to St. Clair just recently. Okay, and so there it is. Those are the exact coordinates of it. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. You can put it wherever you want there. And then this is important because, especially if you're doing an exterior view, the date makes a difference, whether it's in the winter or the summer. The light is up higher. The winter, it's lower, so it does make a difference. And the time too, right? Because we might want it to be, instead of at night like this, we might want to have it like in the afternoon or something, 1 o'clock. So if I pick apply, you might not see too much happening in an interior view, but it does, let's go ahead and pick OK. It does make a difference for the exterior. All right, and then we have all of our artificial lights as we saw before, and some of those can be dimmed as we work with it. So let's go ahead and render it. Click on render and give it a minute. A dialog box should appear that shows you how much time it's taking to render. And then if you want the dialog box to close when it's done rendering, then make sure the check mark is in here. I think that's the default. But if you want it to stay open so that you can see how long it took, then take the check mark out, and then you could take off, come back, and see how long it took. You can even render in the cloud if you use the Autodesk services. And I think you have to have a subscription for that, but I would have to double check on that one. So because we have a lot of graphics and things that are going on, the rendering is taking a little bit longer. There's a couple of things that you can do. You can notch it down to a draft that's different, but look, it's still only a couple of minutes. So I would save your file before you render. I think you should be fine with a medium though. So it looks okay. The floor is kind of shiny, but you can see the leather of the sofas. When you put a check mark in region, you have this red box, and this red box, this red box gives you the choice of making the rendering here a smaller section of your drawing, so that way you don't have to wait around for the regeneration time. And that's kind of a nice like night scene because you only have the lights from inside, but you can see that the lamp is working and so are the lights in the ceiling. Okay, so when we were rendering and we had all that light coming in from the background, in the rendering dialog box we also have a background here, and we had a few clouds or something, but the sun was coming in there. So instead of having the sun bright like that, we're going to and we could change the time because we had it in the afternoon. We could set it early in the morning or late at night, but instead I went over here to background and rendering and I picked image, and then I clicked on customize image and I went to image and I brought in that forest here to set as the background, and then I used the interior sun and artificial. I took the check mark out of region and then I rendered it. So go ahead, pause the video and do that so that you can have, you know, this rendering that's starting to look good. Remember, I just threw in a couple lights and picked a background. Also, while you're waiting for the rendering, I just want to show you that if you have topography on the outside, it's going to show here as part of your blocked out mass right there. So I've actually hidden that topography when I'm doing interior views because I may want to see all of the image that's in the back. So this is about rendering and working with this high quality here graphic. Now to make it look even better here, you can click on adjust exposure. So once you make those modifications and render it, let's go to adjust exposure. I love this because it really helps you to, and I'm just going to go extreme here, to help to change the exposure. See how it's brighter or it's darker. You can just bring in just a little bit more light to brighten it up a little bit more. It really depends on what you'd like to see. You have these kind of highlights. See the highlights? You can play around with that a little bit. And we're still on the medium setting for the quality. So it's definitely going to be a lot sharper. The shadows can be darker, and that kind of gives it here a little bit more of that deeper shadows. Saturation is depending on the color, right? You want the grays, so if you want it to look kind of in a gray color, you can work with that. Bring it back a little bit more to give you like a different look. And then white point is just that it kind of like gives you either a cooler or a warmer look. So depending on what you're looking for, you could bring in those kind of earth tones to make it a little bit warmer. Okay, once you get your exposure control set, you can pick OK in that dialog box. And as you start to get what you'd like to see, because you can see that those lights are showing up and you've got a little bit of like a glare coming in here. You know, it depends on if you want to spend the time and you have the computer capacity to change the quality and wait for it, you can. But what I'd like you to do is to now save this view to the project, and then we're going to export it. So pick save to project, and then this is going to be another category in the project browser. So you could just leave it as interior perspective one, because if you pick OK, you'll see over here in the project browser that you've got this rendering that's saved into the project. And if you want to export it out as an external file, which you don't need to do, but it might be nice to have, pick export right there. Find the folder you want to put it in and then pick save. and you're saving it here as a JPEG file, so that you have this here, this view, this rendered view, as a saved external file. Okay, so those are the introduction settings for creating a rendering. I'm going to pick Show Model, and it'll bring me back to that that realistic model. I'll close out of the rendering dialog box, but if I want to see it again as an image, I'll pick on Interior Perspective. Now it's a little grainy because we only did the medium and we didn't really get in and tweak it a whole lot, but there it is. I used to create videos that were only 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and I'd end up with a bunch of them. So what I'm doing now is trying to keep it less than an hour. So for this week, we'll stop there, do these, work with these type of graphic display options, and then next week we'll continue with other exciting ways of creating these presentation type drawings. And so I wanted to go back over to the Insert tab and pick Load Family and just show you here under Look In where this folder structure is. So it's in the C drive on your computers if you downloaded it. There's program data, and then all the way down to this English Imperial. That's what the main folder is right there. So it's up to you if when you bring the files in that I've posted in the discussion board, if you want to put them in this program data folder, you have to it's a hidden folder, right? And not everyone is comfortable with doing this, but I'll go over here to the Windows Explorer, and under the View tab we can go to Options and change folder and search options. Now I'm not asking you to do this, it's up to you. I think it would be okay if when you go to the folders in the discussion group, you just copy them, download them to your computer someplace, right? Create your own folder called Revit File Families and then put them in there. It doesn't have to be in the system folders. When you go to insert it, you just kind of browse over to them. But underneath the View tab here, if you wanted to do this, you'd have to pick some of these settings. I like to display my extensions, so like .dwg or rvt or jpeg. So I take the check mark out of hide extension for known files, and I also pick in front of show hidden files and folders. Showing hidden files and folders, you'll be able to get to this path here, going through program data, Autodesk, all the way down to the US folder, and that's where they're all at, and then you can copy them in there if you'd like. The other choice here was what I was going to show you. Go to the discussion group, pick Revit files to share, and what I did here was I created a link to my OneDrive. So when you click on this link right there, and this is if you don't have them. If you already have them, then you're good. What I did was I put all of these folders in here. So now you can bring them into your folder system. And so I put doors and these. If you feel like we need other ones, or if I need more as we start to work with this a little bit more, especially when we start to work with kitchens, and I didn't put casework in here, so I'll probably be adding that. This is going to be over here in the discussion group here, and there's a link to it. All right, so getting back to Revit, these are the things that I'd like to talk to you today, and next week we'll continue with graphic display options. Kind of fun stuff. We'll work with a walkthrough and exploded views and color-coded plans, and they're all different things, different ways of creating graphics for our presentations.